The vast emptiness of space seemed to press against the viewport as Ilara Reed stared out at the arriving transport. Towing behind it was the massive hulk of what had once been the pride of the Selenian fleet, a Void Cruiser-class warship, its hull now scarred and stripped of its most valuable components. The ship's registration number, VC-117, was barely visible beneath layers of cosmic dust and corrosion. "Another piece of junk for you humans to sort through," rumbled Gortak, the Vesperian supervisor of Outpost Salvage Station 42. His four eyes blinked asynchronously as he handed Ilara a datapad. "Standard procedure. Strip it, catalog it, compress it. The Selenians don't want any of their proprietary tech ending up in the wrong hands, so be thorough." Ilara nodded silently, her eyes never leaving the derelict vessel. Unlike Gortak, she saw more than just scrap metal, while the rest of the salvage crew, a mix of 7 different species from across the Orion Arm, viewed these ships as little more than resource deposits to be mined. Ilara had always been different. She saw potential. "I'll take first inventory," she said, already moving toward the airlock where her EVA suit waited. Gortak's breathing apparatus wheezed as he laughed, eager to find something valuable. "Remember, human. Standard contract. Anything worth selling belongs to the company." Ilara didn't bother to respond. After 3 years working the salvage lines, she'd learned that arguing with Gortak was like trying to persuade a black hole to release light. Besides, she wasn't looking for something to sell. Not exactly. The magnetic boots of her EVA suit clanked against the hull of the Void Cruiser as Ilara made her way toward what had once been the primary access hatch. The ship was enormous, over 600 meters from bow to stern, dwarfing the salvage station that now claimed ownership of its remains. In its prime, it would have carried a crew of at least 200, armed with enough firepower to reduce a small moon to rubble. Now it was just another victim of technological obsolescence, replaced by the newer, faster Nebula-class destroyers that the Selenian military-industrial complex had begun mass-producing the previous year. Ilara pried open the external hatch and slipped inside. Her helmet lights cut through the darkness of the ship's interior, revealing corridors that still held a ghost of their former grandeur. The Selenians built their ships to last, with a dedication to craftsmanship that bordered on religious fervor. It seemed almost sacrilegious to tear such a vessel apart. Beginning preliminary interior scan, she spoke into her comm unit, more out of protocol than any expectation that Gortak was actually monitoring her. Hull integrity at approximately 78%. Life support systems offline. Reactor. Wait. She paused, double-checking the readings on her scanner. Reactor in standby mode, not fully decommissioned. That was unusual. Standard procedure called for complete reactor shutdown before sending vessels to salvage. Ilara made her way deeper into the ship, toward the engineering section. The corridors were eerily silent, her breathing and the occasional creak of settling metal the only sounds. Emergency lighting still functioned in places, casting a dim blue glow that gave the ship an underwater quality. When she reached the main engineering bay, Ilara's suspicions were confirmed. The reactor hadn't been fully shut down. It had been placed in a hibernation state, using minimal power to maintain certain systems. But why would the Selenians preserve any functionality in a ship destined for the scrapyard? Ilara to station. I'm picking up some anomalies in the engineering section. Request permission to conduct a deep scan. After a moment of static, Gortak's irritated voice came through. Make it quick, human. We're on a schedule. With that limited approval, Ilara connected her diagnostic tools to the ship's main computer terminal. To her surprise, it responded immediately, displays flickering to life around her. This was far more than residual power. Someone had deliberately left the core systems operational. Hours passed as Ilara worked, diving deeper into the ship's systems. What she discovered made her pulse quicken. VC-117 wasn't just any void cruiser. It had been a testbed for experimental technology. Hidden beneath layers of standard code and ordinary hardware were modifications that shouldn't have existed. Quantum entangled communication arrays, gravimetric distortion engines, adaptive shield harmonics, all cutting-edge tech that the Selenians had publicly denied possessing. Most importantly, she found evidence of a complete AI navigation and tactical system, something expressly forbidden by the Galactic Concordat after the AI wars a century earlier. "This is impossible," she whispered to herself, reading through the technical specifications. The ship had been designed to function with a minimal crew, perhaps even completely autonomously. No wonder the Selenians had tried to wipe its systems before sending it to salvage. They were hiding something that could get them sanctioned by the Galactic Council. Ilara's mind raced with possibilities. With the right modifications, this ship could be operational again, not as a warship, but as something else entirely. Humanity had been relegated to the fringes of galactic society since the resource wars 50 years ago, when Earth's unified government had made an ill-fated attempt to claim the helium-rich gas giants of the Proxima system. The resulting conflict had left human colonies scattered and vulnerable, forced to accept protection from more powerful species, like the Vesperians and Selenians, in exchange for labor and resources. If humans had access to this level of technology. "Read. What's taking so long? Your shift ended an hour ago." Gortak's voice snapped her back to reality. "Just completing the inventory, sir," she replied, quickly disconnecting her equipment. "Some systems are more intact than expected. Might be worth more if we salvage carefully." "I'll be the judge of that," Gortak said. "Return to station for debriefing." Back at the station, Ilara filed her report, carefully edited to omit her most significant findings. She listed basic components, standard materials, nothing that would raise suspicion. When her shift ended, instead of heading to the communal quarters, she made her way to the communication hub and used her personal credit allowance to place a secure call to an old friend. "Julian, it's Ilara. Remember that project we discussed at the academy? I think I've found our opportunity." Julian Nakamura had been Ilara's roommate at the Earth Technical Institute before the budget cuts that had forced them both to seek work off-world. While Ilara had ended up in salvage, Julian had found a position with a small research outpost on Europa, one of the few remaining human-controlled territories. "Are you serious?" Julian's voice was cautious, even over the encrypted channel. "You know the penalties for." "I know," Ilara cut in. "But this is different. It's already been decommissioned. Technically, once it enters salvage, ownership transfers to whoever buys the components. That's stretching the law pretty thin, L. Just get me the specs I sent you analyzed. And if you can, reach out to Priya and Matteo. We might need their expertise." Over the next 3 weeks, Ilara volunteered for every shift involving the Void Cruiser, slowly implementing her plan. She diverted certain components from the salvage line, marking them as damaged or contaminated in the inventory system. During her EVA excursions, she carefully restored key systems, working from the detailed instructions Julian and their growing network of collaborators provided. It was during one of these unauthorized visits that she discovered the final piece of the puzzle, a sealed compartment near the ship's core that contained what appeared to be a quantum resonance matrix, technology that even the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy were still theorizing about. This wasn't just an experimental ship, it represented a generational leap forward. "Do you realize what this means?" Julian's excited voice came through her private communicator. "With this tech, a single ship could generate enough power to sustain a small colony indefinitely. Or protect one." Ilara finished his thought. "But I need more time. Gortak is scheduling the final compression next week. Once they start cutting up the hull, there's no going back." The solution came from an unexpected source. 2 days later, an urgent transmission reached Outpost 42, a general alert from the Galactic Council. The Carricks, a previously unknown species from the galactic rim, had launched simultaneous attacks on 3 outer colonies, Reports described technology unlike anything encountered before, capable of neutralizing the defenses of even the most advanced civilizations. As the station staff gathered around the broadcast, Ilara noticed something critical. The Carrick ships employed quantum-based weapons that bore a striking resemblance to the technology hidden within the Void Cruiser. This couldn't be coincidence. That night, she sent an encrypted message to every member of their growing network. Phase 2 begins now. The next morning, as the salvage crew prepared for their shifts, alarms blared throughout the station. A nearby asteroid mining operation had suffered a catastrophic accident, and all available personnel were being diverted for rescue operations. In the chaos, no one noticed as Ilara slipped away toward the docking bay. No one. That is, except Gortak. "I knew you were up to something, human," his gravelly voice said from behind her as she prepared to board a maintenance shuttle. The extra hours, the discrepancies in the inventory reports, small things, but they add up. Ilara turned slowly, facing her supervisor. "You don't understand what's at stake." "I understand theft," Gortak grumbled, his massive frame blocking the exit. "Whatever you think you found on that ship, it belongs to the company now." "What I found," Ilara said carefully, "might be the only thing that can stop what's coming. The Carricks aren't just another aggressive species looking for territory. They're using technology that shouldn't exist in this part of the galaxy. The same technology that's on that ship. Someone gave it to them. Gortak. Someone who wanted them to use it against us." The Vesperian's 4 eyes narrowed. "You have no proof." "Check the quantum signatures in their weapon systems against the resonance matrix in VC-117's core. They're identical." Gortak was silent for a long moment, his breathing apparatus wheezing softly. Finally, he stepped aside. "You have 48 hours before I report the shuttle missing. Whatever you're planning, human, make it count." As Ilara guided the maintenance shuttle toward the derelict Void Cruiser, her communicator chimed with incoming messages from Julian and the others. Their respective facilities had also received news of the Carrick's attacks, and several had already been placed on high alert. Time was running out. "Hold on, everyone," she whispered, more to herself than to her distant collaborators. "We're about to change the equation." The shuttle's lights illuminated the massive form of VC-117 as she approached, its scarred hull still bearing the faded insignia of the Selenian fleet. But soon, it would bear a different mark, one that would signal a new chapter in humanity's role in the galaxy. If she could bring the ancient warship back to life in time. The dim emergency lighting of VC-117's bridge cast long shadows as Ilara worked furiously, her fingers flying across multiple interfaces. Around her, the once-dead ship was gradually awakening, systems coming online one by one as the reactor power levels steadily climbed. The air recyclers had begun functioning again, filling the bridge with the metallic scent of long-dormant machinery returning to life. "Primary computer systems are online," came Julian's voice through her communicator. Unlike Ilara, Julian wasn't physically present. He was connected remotely from his research station on Europa, working through the secure channel they had established. "I'm seeing some resistance in the neural network pathways. The Selenians did a partial wipe before decommissioning." "Can you recover it?" Ilara asked, not looking up from the propulsion diagnostics she was running. "Maybe not all of it, but enough. Priya's algorithm is rebuilding the core architecture as we speak." Priya Sharma had been 2 years ahead of Ilara at the Academy, a brilliant programmer who now worked for one of the few remaining human-owned tech firms in the Ta CD system. When Ilara had reached out about the discovery, Priya had immediately recognized the significance and contributed a self-repairing AI matrix that could fill in the gaps left by the Selenians' attempt to erase the ship's brain. "How are we looking on weapons, Matteo?" Ilara asked, switching channels. Matteo Rodriguez had been the top weapons engineer in his class before being recruited by a Vesperian defense contractor. His voice came through with a hint of excitement barely contained. "Better than expected. The Selenians disabled the primary artillery banks, but the particle cannons and point defense systems are intact. I've managed to bypass the command lockouts. We'll have about 60% of original combat capability. That will have to be enough, Ilara said, checking the latest intelligence reports streaming in from across the sector. The Carricks had now hit 5 colonies, including 1 human mining outpost in the Rigel system. Reports described devastating losses, with conventional defenses proving nearly useless against the Carricks' quantum weaponry. A sudden power surge rocked the ship, causing the lights to flicker momentarily. Ilara steadied herself against a console. What was that? Julian's concerned voice came through. The quantum resonance matrix is integrating with the power grid, Ilara explained, studying the readings. It's more unstable than we anticipated. At this rate, we have maybe 12 hours before it either stabilizes or burns out completely. The Carrick's fleet will reach the Proxima colony in 10, Matteo interjected grimly. They've already disabled the early warning satellites. Proxima Centauri B was home to New London, one of the largest remaining human settlements outside the Sol system. If it fell, over 30,000 humans would be at the mercy of the Carricks, assuming they offered any mercy at all. Then we launch in 8, Ilara decided, entering commands to accelerate the restoration timeline. Julian, focus on navigation and tactical systems. Matteo, I need those weapons online. Priya, keep working on the AI integration. I'll handle propulsion and life support. For the next 7 hours, the small team worked tirelessly, each from their respective locations across different star systems, united by their desperate plan and the technology they were bringing back from obsolescence. The Void Cruiser, which Ilara had unofficially rechristened Phoenix, was gradually transforming from derelict to something new, neither fully warship nor exploration vessel, but something uniquely suited to their desperate gambit. The quantum resonance matrix was the key. Unlike conventional power systems, it didn't just generate energy. It manipulated the fabric of space-time itself on a quantum level. In theory, this would allow the Phoenix to create localized distortions that could neutralize the Carrick's weapons, which operated on similar principles. In theory. Final system checks complete, Julian announced as the 8-hour mark approached. Navigation is fully operational. The AI core is at 83% capacity and climbing. Weapons systems ready, Matteo confirmed, though I still recommend against a direct confrontation. Even with the upgrades, we're outnumbered. Agreed, Ilara said, strapping herself into the captain's chair. The bridge around her hummed with renewed energy, displays showing the ship transformed from junk into something formidable. We're not looking for a fight. We're looking to neutralize their advantage. As the Phoenix detached from the maintenance shuttle that had been its lifeline during restoration, Ilara felt the massive ship respond to her commands. The handling was sluggish compared to modern vessels, but there was a solidity to it that newer ships lacked. A sense of purpose built into every bulkhead and circuit. Initiating quantum drive, she announced, activating the experimental propulsion system they had painstakingly reconstructed. Next stop, Proxima Centauri. The stars outside the viewport seemed to stretch as the Phoenix accelerated beyond conventional speeds, the quantum drive creating a bubble of distorted spacetime that propelled the ship faster than any Selenian vessel was supposedly capable of traveling. The ship shuddered under the strain, but held together. I'm getting readings from the Proxima system, Julian reported as they approached their destination. Multiple Carrick's vessels in orbit around the colony. They've already disabled the orbital defense platforms. Ilara studied the tactical display. 7 Carrick ships surrounded the colony, their distinctive spiked hulls bristling with weapons. New London's remaining defenses, ground-based shield generators, and a handful of atmospheric fighters wouldn't last long once the bombardment began. They haven't seen us yet, Matteo observed. The quantum drive seems to be masking our approach signature. Perfect, Ilara said, adjusting their course. We'll use that to our advantage. Priya, is the resonance countermeasure ready? As ready as it's going to be, came the reply. But Ilara, I need to warn you. Once we activate it, the strain on the matrix will be intense. The ship's structural integrity is already compromised from years of neglect. This could tear it apart. Noted, Ilara acknowledged, her expression grim. But if we don't try, New London doesn't stand a chance. The Phoenix slipped into the Proxima system like a ghost, its approach cloaked by the quantum distortions surrounding it. On the colony below, the first Carrick's landing parties were already engaging with the colonial defense forces, a battle the humans were rapidly losing. Bring us into position between the Carrick's fleet and the colony, Ilara ordered. Prepare to drop our concealment and activate the resonance countermeasure on my mark. The massive ship maneuvered into position, now floating directly in the invasion path. For a moment, everything was eerily quiet, the calm before an impossible storm. They've spotted us, Julian reported. Carrick's vessels altering course to intercept. Now's our chance, Ilara said. Activating countermeasure. Now. Deep within the Phoenix, the quantum resonance matrix flared to full power, channeling energies that had never been intended to work in concert. Throughout the ship, systems strained under the load, conduits overheating, circuit pathways burning out even as they carried the impossible energies being generated. Outside, space itself seemed to ripple around the Phoenix as a wave of quantum disruption expanded outward in all directions. When it reached the approaching Carrick's vessels, their weapons immediately went dark, the quantum-based technology rendered temporarily useless by the precisely calibrated interference. It's working, Matteo exclaimed. Their primary weapon systems are offline. But the victory was short-lived. On the tactical display, Ilara watched as the Carrick ships quickly adapted, switching to conventional weaponry. They might be diminished, but they were far from defenseless. They're launching fighters, Julian warned. At least 30 small craft, approaching fast. Matteo, engage point defense systems, Ilara ordered. Target the fighters first, then concentrate fire on the lead Carrick ship. Julian, transmit our tactical data to the colony's defense grid. They need to know where to hit the Carricks while their shields are compromised. The space around the Phoenix erupted in a dazzling display of weapons fire as the ancient ship engaged forces from beyond the galactic rim. Its point defense systems, technology considered obsolete by modern standards, proved surprisingly effective against the Carrick's fighters, which relied heavily on the now disrupted quantum shielding. Below, the colonial defense forces rallied, their ground-based weapons now able to penetrate the Carrick ship's weakened defenses. Two of the smaller Carrick's vessels began to retreat, their hulls breached in multiple locations. But the Phoenix was taking damage as well. The strain of maintaining the quantum disruption field while engaging in combat was pushing the restored systems beyond their limits. Structural integrity failing in sections 12 through 17, Julian reported, his voice tense. Power fluctuations throughout the ship. The resonance matrix is becoming unstable. A direct hit from one of the larger Carrick's vessels sent Ilara lurching against her restraints. Warning klaxons blared across the bridge as new damage reports flooded in. Divert auxiliary power to the structural integrity field, she ordered. We need to hold this position just a little longer. On the tactical display, she could see that their gambit was working. The colonial defense forces had reorganized and were now systematically targeting the vulnerable points on the Carrick's vessels that the Phoenix's data feed had identified. 3 of the 7 alien ships were now in retreat, their hulls breached, their advance halted. But the Phoenix was dying. The quantum resonance matrix that had given them this chance was now tearing the ship apart from within, the energies it channeled too powerful for the aged hull to contain. Ilara, we need to shut down the matrix. Praya's urgent voice came through. The containment field won't hold much longer. If it fails while the matrix is active. She didn't need to finish the thought. They all knew what would happen. A cascading quantum reaction that would consume the ship and everything in the immediate vicinity. Not yet, Ilara insisted, watching as the colonial forces pressed their advantage. Just a few more minutes. Another hit rocked the ship, this one more severe than the last. Several bridge stations exploded in showers of sparks, and the lighting switched to emergency red. Through the viewport, Ilara could see one of the largest Carrick's vessels, turning all its remaining weapons on the Phoenix, recognizing it as the source of their troubles. Hull breach on decks 5 through 8, Julian reported. Emergency force fields holding, but we're losing power fast. Ilara made her decision. All power to forward shields and weapons. Target that lead Carrick's vessel with everything we got left. The Phoenix surged forward, its ancient engines pushing beyond their design limits as they drove the massive ship directly toward the Carrick's flagship. Its remaining weapons, particle cannons that had been cutting-edge technology a generation ago, concentrated fire on a single point in the alien vessel's hull. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a bloom of light erupted from the targeted section as the Carrick ship's power core destabilized. The alien vessel began to break apart, secondary explosions rippling along its length. The sight sent a clear message to the remaining Carrick ships. One by one, they broke off their attack, retreating to a safe distance before disappearing into faster-than-light travel, leaving the Proxima colony battered but intact. Inside the Phoenix, systems were failing catastrophically. The quantum resonance matrix had finally destabilized, its energies no longer contained by the ship's failing systems. Ilara, you need to evacuate now, Julian urged. The ship is breaking apart. Use the emergency escape pod on the bridge level. Ilara looked around at the bridge of the ship that had given humanity a fighting chance. There's no time. The matrix will detonate in minutes. If I stay, I can pilot the ship away from the colony before that happens. Ilara, no. Multiple voices protested simultaneously. It's been an honor working with all of you, she said calmly, inputting commands to send the dying ship on a course away from Proxima Centauri b. Julian, make sure our findings on the quantum technology get to the right people. Humanity needs to understand what we're facing. As the Phoenix accelerated away from the colony, its hull fracturing under the strain of movement, Ilara kept her eyes fixed on the stars ahead. The ship that had been discarded as obsolete had just changed the course of the conflict, had proven that humanity still had something to offer the galaxy. The quantum matrix reached critical levels, bathing the bridge in an unearthly blue light. In those final moments, Ilara felt no fear, only a profound sense of accomplishment. The Phoenix had lived up to its name, rising from the ashes of abandonment to protect those who could not protect themselves. The explosion, when it came, was visible from the surface of New London, a new star briefly flaring in the sky before fading away. In its wake, it left a ripple of quantum disturbances that would linger for years, a phenomenon that scientists would later name the Reed effect, after the human engineer who had discovered its potential. 3 days later, as the colony still recovered from the attack, a small maintenance shuttle limped into Proxima space. Inside, barely conscious but alive, was Ilara Reed, rescued at the last possible moment by an emergency teleport system that Julian had secretly activated against her orders. "You didn't think we'd let you go that easily, did you?" he asked when she finally regained consciousness in the Colonial Medical Center. Around her bed stood her collaborators, Julian, Priya, and Matteo, who had all traveled to Proxima upon hearing the news of her survival. Beyond them, view screens showed news broadcasts from across human space and beyond. The battle at New London had captured the attention of the entire galaxy. The Selenian Confederation is demanding an explanation for how humans acquired classified technology, Priya said with a hint of satisfaction. And the Galactic Council has opened an investigation into the origins of the Carrick's weapons. But most importantly, Matteo added, the Carricks have withdrawn from 3 other systems they had targeted. Our analysis of their quantum weapons gave the defense forces what they needed to develop countermeasures. Ilara smiled weakly. So it worked. Better than we could have hoped, Julian confirmed. The Vesperian High Command has officially requested human expertise in quantum theory, a field they previously claimed we were too primitive to understand. and 6 other species have opened diplomatic channels with Earth for the first time in decades. Outside the medical center, engineers were already at work, studying the data recovered from the Phoenix's brief but crucial mission. The remnants of the ship itself had been scattered across a wide area of space, but its legacy would live on in the technologies it had helped reveal. Technologies that would eventually form the foundation of a new era of human innovation and respect among the galactic community. From obsolete to legendary, the transformation was complete.